Alright, so you have stuck around long enough that you've made it to number 4. This is going to be part 1 of 2. It started getting a little long, so I decided to split it in half. So we're going to be starting into using PWM, or pulse width modulation, to vary the intensity of an LED, or fade the LED, the brightness up and down. For this part, we're going to start with just simply using the PWM function in Arduino UNO, which we will see here in the output. We'll write it on PWM, and then we will move into actually mapping our potentiometer to a PWM value so we can watch the LED go up and down. So without further, we all should be fairly up to date on how to set up our workspace. So we'll get setting up our workspace. I actually already have my circuit built here, and we are going to go straight over into coding. I have the project laid out. I've got my setup and loop brought in, and for this first one, what we want to do is we want to use the PWM value, which is between 0 and 255, to cause the LED to increase in brightness. Now, to have this flow, we need to have a delay in between each brightness step. Now, one of the downsides to this is if we were to go from 0 to, say, 100 and then 110, 120, and so forth, you're not going to have a very even, but we'll kind of see as that goes along. So we're going to come over here, we're going to do our output right on analog, or on the pin. We got to remember our pin is pin 3, and you got to make sure that you're on one of these PWM pins. Let me zoom in here for you. The PWM is signified by the tilde. That's the squiggly line, if you will, there. So back over here, we're going to write to pin 3. We're going to start at a value 2. Let's bring in a delay in milliseconds. We're going to do 500, and Control C, Control V, and let's just do that a couple more times. Control C, Control V, and that's probably getting us pretty close to where we need to be. So if we're going to follow our thing here, we're going to go 0, 10, 80, 128, 255. 10, 80, 128, 255. So 255 is going to be our full brightness, and we can just get rid of those. So let's take a peek at our code. Here's our code. Copy that. Come on over here to our code. Control A to select all, Control V to paste. Our code. Zoom back out so we can see what's going on, and start. And so we can see our LEDs step up in brightness there. Okay, so from watching that, you can see a couple of different things. One is it's going to be very difficult to get this to be a smooth transition from on to off. 2, there's no way for us to dynamically control it when we're not in the code. And 3, if we needed it to do anything more than a couple of steps, the code could get very, very long, very, very quick. Even just the writing of it. If we wanted to write this to, say, fade in, fade out, multiple times over, this could get to be very long very quickly. So we need to find an alternative solution. And that alternative solution is going to be using for, or in this case, a counting loop. So to do that, we are going to start with pulling a counting loop out here. We need a variable. If you don't have variables already set here, you can click create a variable. We'll just assign it I, and that variable I is the brightness or intensity of the LED in this case, or the pulse width that's modulated. So we're going to need 2 of these, so we can pull 2 of those out. We can snap them together. Following our instructions, we're going to count from 0 to 255. That's what the pulse width modulation works off of. It's defined as 0 to 255, or in another way, 256 steps. We will count by 10 because that seems like a good number. And then we're going to count down from 255 to 0 again by 10. We are again going to need our write to pen 3, and we're going to actually need another one. So we'll go ahead and pull those. We're going to recycle these. We need to change this to, let's drop it down to 50. And here's the thing, we need a different value. We need the I value. So let's go to our variable. Let's pull out our I variable, grab an I. And so what our code here is saying is that when we start, I is going to equal 0. And since I is less than 255, we're going to add 10 to I and then write it to pen 3 as the value I. We're going to wait 50 milliseconds, and we're going to check that again, and we're going to add another 10 to it until we're no longer less than or equal to 255, in which case we are then going to start this one where I equals 255, I will be less than, we're going to subtract 10, and then our light will decrease until we start the loop over again. So let's go ahead and copy our work, head over here to code, Control A to select all, Control V to paste, and let's go ahead and start it. And there we go, we got a smoothly changing or fading LED. Now we can make this go slower by, say, changing this to, let's say, 250 milliseconds to go bright. We'll copy that, and Control A for all, Control V to paste, and we're going to go ahead and start again. And we're going to see that it takes a little bit longer to come up to brightness before it resets. And that was a lot quicker than having to change every single step and trying to make sure that it was nice and smooth. Now, your extra credit or challenge in this one is to use this button to start and stop this code. So if we head back over here, let's change this back to 50. Okay, so if you would like to continue watching to see how to do that, I will continue on. If you would like to try that on your own, I encourage you to. So there's your warning. So here we go. We are going to be using the same if statement we did from lab 102. So we're going to come up here, we're going to grab our logic statement, if, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to sneak it in there. Nope. Okay. Drop that in there. We need inputs. Okay, so we need, so we're going to need our digital pin. Let's head over here. We're on digital pin 13. And we're going to have a high. So that's good. That's good. But we need some way to connect it. So come back over here to logic. And we're going to use the equals. So when the logic state of digital pin 13 equals high, we will start our code. And we can see we set pin 3 as our output, pin 13 as our input. Copy our code over here. And as you all probably know by now, Control A to select all, Control V to paste. Let's start our simulation. We shouldn't have anything going on until we push our button. And that is how we accomplish that task. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, links to everything down in the comments, including the PDF. I am not a teacher or anything, so if there's spelling or other issues, sorry for that. That's why there's a video. If you want a quick lesson on PWM, I will also try and link a couple of really good videos on how PWM works for controlling intensity, and even I will link to the let's say Wikipedia article or something. Okay, so next time we come back, we will be in part 2 where we will be discussing mapping. And once we start mapping, we will be using our potentiometer here to control the brightness of the LED. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or get a hold of me. You can email me. You can, if you have this document, you likely have my email. If not, message me and we will work through what we can.